G'day, it's Chris Weston from Rush Trucks, and in this video we're just going to explain about the shocks, what sizes, what you can use, what you can get away with, if it's second-hand or if it's brand new, the gas pressures, everything. So when you're making your decision on what you need for your truck, whether it's your budget, time frame or brand, hopefully this video will help you out in your decision and get you sort of fast forward to get the truck handling pretty good. So with the front coilover, we've got a 2.5 inch body by 12 inch stroke. Now they're both 12 inch shocks at the front because they run side by side. So they're 12 inch stroke. We use a 1/2 inch bolt up the top, 1/2 inch bottom bolt. We run a remote reservoir. You can see here the remote. That holds the nitrogen gas, which is 200 PSI in that. We've got dual rate springs on the fronts. So the top spring is a 12 inch long spring, 3 inch diameter, and the pound is 450 pound. The bottom is a 14 inch long spring, 3 inch diameter by 650 pound. So we've got dual rate springs in it. With the dual rate springs, you have a spring divider in here, this black one, that divides the two, and it's a bit of a sleeve, so it runs up and down the shock. You've got these little rings in here, these interlocking rings, that activates your bottom coil. And then you've got your top rings up the top of the shock, which holds your coil in place and sets your ride height. So with this car, now all the cars are a little bit different. The weight, the way you position your engine, or your fuel tank, your seats, battery, fire extinguisher, all those little things determine on where your car's balanced. So on this one, with these coil rings, we set a preload of 20 mil. So preload is when you fully extend the car like this on the hoist, and you put your coils on. As you're winding those rings down when it hits the coil, then you wind it down a further 20 mil, which is your preload. 20 mil on that gives you 18 inches in height off the ground with your floor of your truck using 37 inch tyres. Now if you want to run a lower truck, lower, you screw the rings up, which will drop the truck, or if you want to run the truck higher, you screw the rings down and balance it out with your front and back, and that will get you the ride height that you want. And once you drive it, you'll know what you want. And different races. If you've got flatter tracks, you can drop the truck down. If you've got the big whoop outs and washouts, you can lift the truck up with this coil rate. These two little rings here that activate your secondary spring down the bottom, we set this at about 1.5 inches above your little black slider here, your spring divider, at ride height. And that will mean we activate the top spring when you're going across, just your little stutters and sort of halfway into cornering. You'll be working this spring, but when you hit that big jump or that big washout or the whoops, continual whoops, you're working this big spring down the bottom, which lifts that front. You want to pop that front all the time, trying to get the nose to dig in. You can change this, obviously, because it's adjustable. So a good thing, or a good way to do it is you can put zippy ties on your shaft, and you can see after a run, you come back and see how far that zippy tie's slid up and down the shaft. GoPros are the best. You hook the GoPro up, you can slow-mo it, you know exactly what corner it is. You can see when that divider hits the rings here and when it activates that secondary, where the piston's sitting. So that sort of helps out a bit later on. But to get the truck running and get it on the track with these rates, we know you can hit the track running and going. And then you fine tune it, because every driver likes a little bit of difference with what they've got. So that's why there's so many adjustments with this. 200 PSI gas in the shocks. These are handy little things. You pop them on your reservoir here, and then this one here up the top there. That will give you the pressure readout. And then once you regulate your pressure to 200, you just release it, and it doesn't. The gas doesn't go anywhere. It leaves all the gas in there, and it sort of really helps you out when you're taking the shocks on and off the truck. When you're doing maintenance, you can just let the gas out, whip the shock off, put him back in, gas him up, get that little pressure gauge. You know you get the right gas every time. So that's your coilover. Your bypass, this is the big dog that does all the work. It's awesome. It's 3.5 inch, 5 tube bypass. You got 3 compression tubes, 2 rebound tubes. The red are the rebound, blue is your compression. 5/8 bolt up the top, 1/2 inch bolt down the bottom because we use the same bolt to join the 2 shockeys. I'll bring the camera in and show you. So we just changed the right end on that. This one's got an external reservoir, you can see on here. I picked these shocks up second hand, and we changed all the valving inside, or I have, so we recondition them and they're good to go. So that's what I came back to. If you don't want to buy brand new, you can second hand. There's always shocks coming up on the internet for sale and for tubes. Miss your shock and your chassis, bolt him in and away you go. If you go for the brand new ones, we've got the exact measurements of where these tubes come out the body. So when your piston goes up and down, it all relates to what to the truck. 200 psi in this one. Now, a bit of a thing with the bypass, once you get your truck and drive it, you'll really feel the difference when you're tuning the shocks. We have people that can help you out. I can help you out once you get the truck going. But to set it and pretty much go straight away, I'll just roughly explain it. A lot of you have already done work with shocks, so you know all about it. But if you've never done anything with bypasses, if I can tell you this information, hopefully this will sort of fast forward you and you get a really good understanding on how you can make your truck handle the way you want it to do. So these are compression tubes. The long tube, think of that as your bump stop. Which I'll talk about these afterwards, but that's pretty much your bump stop. So as the piston's coming up and the wheel's coming up and you're about to bottom out, it's bleeding oil through, which is what you've adjusted into the bypass here. And then once the piston comes past this point, bang, it gets really heavy and resistance is increased and it wants to stop that truck from bottoming out. So that's that one there. We wind into one. Wind it all the way in, down here. You can either use 8mm or socket, whatever you want. But you can. These ones have got little clicks. No, you can't hear it. They're little clicks there. They're like a quarter of a turn. That gives you a number on when you're adjusting and to write it down. Or you can put a little texter mark, and you can sort of do half a turn, 3/4 turn, or a full turn. There's a full turn. That one. Your middle one with your middle tube. This is after your little sort of stutters going across flat. So this is obviously in between. And then your short one is for your real little stutters as you're just driving along. So if you want the car sort of rolly or you want it to feel like a go-kart, they're your main ones there for when you're sort of cornering. And that helps in with your sliders here too. You know, when you're cornering, if you lift those sliders, the car's going to roll more by lifting these sliders. Or if you want the car to roll into a corner and sit on this bottom spring, you bring those two sliders down. So it's not that hard once you muck around with it and once you feel it and you do an adjustment. And when you do an adjustment, just don't do one turn, do like 3 or 2. So you really feel a difference and go, oh, yeah, it felt like that, so now I can come back a little bit. So this one's set at 1. The long compression, turn that out 1. The middle tube, we turn that out 3. The short tube, we turn that out 5. 5 turns. Out in the back of the shock, we got the rebound. They're the red ones. Now your short red at the back here, you could just pretty much say that's like a bump stop, but in reverse. So when you fully compress and the car goes to leave the ground, that short red's going to catch it first up, and then as the piston travels through, this next long red catches it again. So you can really have a good adjustment there, but we get a lot of rebound out. We pull a lot of rebound with the shimming out of the coilover, because with a truck you really want those wheels to drop out fast, because that motor and that weight's in the front. The faster you can get those wheels to drop out, the more she sits up. And you can sort of skip along those holes or whoops or whatever you're sort of trying to hit or off jumps. It'll lift that front. And you don't have to worry about too much when you get on the gas real hard that the bonnet's going to lift up because you've got that weight in the front. Whereas the buggies, you sort of adjust that rebound down to to keep the front down a bit. We run limit straps. You can run different lengths, but the limit strap really looks after your shock. It looks after everything pretty much. We set them so when the wheels are fully extended, the limit strap grabs the arm before the shock overextends or fully extends inside, and it's going bang, bang, bang. So if you can limit the shock travel by about 10 mil when you're setting it up, when you allow for the stretch of the limit strap, you still have about 5 mil of shaft left inside the shock, so nothing gets hurt. And on full compression, you've got little rubbers on your shocks which help that out, and the bump stop. It also helps out your heims and your uni joints. The way this truck's set up, you can take the limit strap off and nothing will bind up, but by putting the limit strap on, it just sort of helps all your heim joints to like make them last and they're not hitting against each other. The bump stop, we run a little bump stop, 2-inch stroke. Now the reason we run a 2-inch stroke is because with this front end, the caster and camber changes throughout the wheel travel. Mainly the caster, the camber does a little bit at the end there. So the top arm's moving around a fair bit, so you haven't got much room for that pad to hit on the arm while it's sliding. So that's why we've gone down to a 2-inch. They're not a mandatory thing, but I like them because they just help you out in that last 4 inches of wheel travel, just to slow everything down and help you out when you misread that slapper or that big hole that you just don't see, and it's like, here we go. And if that can help you bounce out of the hole, then yeah, it's all good, because there are, you get caught out. So you run 200 PSI in them, but we'll run to the back. Now, brands, you can run, obviously these are Fox, Kings, there's another truck that's decked out with Radflow, the bypasses, every truck that is out there, we're up to 10 now trucks. We have a piggyback canister, which I'll show you on the rear what that looks like, and the tube layout, where it comes out of the body, the length of them, so it misses the coilover and misses the chassis, but it's pretty much a rush package that will just bolt straight in with the shocks. But if second-hand pair come up like these did and the tubes miss and then they're in the right spots, grab them, put them on, re-shim them, away you go. So hopefully that helps you out with your choice on what brand to get, what sizes are. Both are 12-inch long, and that's a 3.5 body. And we changed the rod end down the bottom, but I got the specs on them as well. I got all draw rings and everything for the shock, so hopefully that will help you out. And there's some suppliers, they'll know what you need to use for the rush trucks. And yeah, hopefully that'll help you out and get the car running, get it on the track, and then you start mucking around with all these adjustments, and it's just fine tuning. The truck handles that well now that really this is set to your own feel on what you want, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's a never-ending thing. You get your shocks all right, you go, oh, this is cool, and then you come to a big race like the Finke Desert Race, and it's like, whoa, we need to change a few things, we need to get that nose up. Or you run to a flat track and it's like, I want it to turn in more and stop leaning. And so all those little things you can change and write them down, and it's never ending, which is cool. It's awesome. So thanks for watching, and hope these videos are going to help you out when you get your rush truck. I'm only a phone call away. I can put you on to people. I can tell you from experience I've had. The experience what our other customers have had with their trucks. They're changing, and they're always testing and trying to get the right feel and getting faster, like getting faster corner speed. So if I can pass all that information on, hopefully it helps you out. Thanks for watching.